Now, welcome to another edition of News from Naboo with Thor's Lightning Takes. And let us get right to the news.
So our first piece of news up today, we've got Bryce Dallas Howard said something interesting about the Ahsoka show. So before we really talk about what she said, here's the exact quote for everybody. Without giving anything away, you're going to love the Ahsoka show that's coming up. I cannot tell you anything, but what I can say is that you being a fan of the Clone Wars will be greatly rewarded. What I find interesting is that she said Clone Wars and not Rebels, seeing as Ezra, Sabine, and Thrawn will all be in it.
Well, that is the strong rumor, not speculation, not even rumor at this point. We haven't had that confirmed that
Sabine
the series
was cast.
Well, yeah, but we haven't been confirmed that the show is about Ezra and Thrawn and all of that. It's just figures that's almost certainly what it is. And I do agree, I find it a little strange, this quote, that if you're a fan of Clone Wars, you're going to be rewarded, I guess, is the word she used.
I'm curious if it's because of that's where you learn the most about Ahsoka and they're going to try and shine that character through. Is it just about her relationship with Hayden Christensen?
With Anakin. Ahsoka doesn't have a relationship. I'm just messing with you, but no, I know what you meant. But that's the point. I mean, how much is Hayden going to be used in this show? And in what way are we... I mean, to me, this implies flashbacks to Clone Wars.
I could see flashbacks of him actually maybe teaching her.
Which is just going to be so...
He really didn't get much of that in the Clone Wars.
It's going to be so strange if we have, Hayden and Rosario Dawson.
Maybe Ashley Eckstein got cast to play the younger version.
I guess. It's just, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be very, very strange to kind of have that. I mean, not that I'm against it, per se, but it's going to be very strange if we have flashbacks of Rosario Dawson and Hayden Christensen in the Clone Wars, because we all know, of course, Matt Lanter and Ashley Eckstein voiced those characters. They're not, not that Hayden is an Anakin and that we can't consider Rosario Dawson Ahsoka, but very strange. It makes me wonder if this is the right course with this series. Do we really want to go harken back too much to Anakin and Ahsoka?
Right, we should be moving forward with her new relationships and her new place in the galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, not that we can't kind of establish who she is to new, people who are new to the character, but I don't know that you want to really make this show about Anakin and Ahsoka, as much as people would say, well, why not? That's that's so cool. That's what we love about the character is who she was with Anakin. But that's kind of my point. Who is she without Anakin? And I've always kind of assumed that moment in Rebels where she's in the world between worlds and she realizes I can't save Anakin is finally that moment she breaks free of Anakin completely. And like, who am I going to become? How can I crawl out from under this shadow that I've had? He was a great Jedi not master, sorry.
You always want to call him a master.
I do, but he's essentially on the path to being a great Jedi master. He's one of the best, most powerful Jedi at the time, even if he isn't a master. And she's under the shadow of him during the Clone Wars and learning from him. And then she later finds out he's Darth Vader. I mean, she's always been under this kind of shadow. So crawl out from under the shadow, and who is Ahsoka Tano?
I'm going to assume a lot of people have watched the Clone Wars who are going to watch Ahsoka, who are the followers of all things Disney. We know the story of Ahsoka. I know you and I do. We've seen all of Clone Wars. We've seen all of Rebels. We know Ahsoka's story. A lot of the live action audience, the newer audience, who watches everything that Disney Plus puts up, maybe they don't know Ahsoka, so we're going to spend half of the series on flashbacks.
But that's a terrible idea. I don't think that's what the show should be. The show shouldn't be recapping who Ahsoka was. You don't need to... You do need to treat her like a quote-unquote new character because a lot of the audience will not know her. But at the same time, you can't just rehash everything you've done before with the character. Otherwise, you're going to... I mean, there's a reason why the Clone Wars exists, right? Because that's where her story begins. It would be like... I mean, we didn't... you don't have Luke Skywalker show up in the sequel trilogy and have to go back and explain everything there is to do with Luke. Now, granted, Luke, far more popular character than Ahsoka, sure. But you can't just immediately this character wasn't another part of the story, but they're coming back, so we have to give you an extensive recap so that everybody can know exactly everything about her story. Sometimes if you're very clever, and hopefully you are if you're going to be a writer, you don't have to have that exposition. You don't have to explain who this character is. You can have your audience pick up on things. You can allude to things, and then that maybe piques their interest to go back and watch a Clone Wars to learn more about the character.
What I would like to see in flashbacks instead is maybe some of the key moments from the Ahsoka novel. Fighting the Inquisitor because the Inquisitors track her down, her constructing the lightsaber, her kind of finding her place after Order 66.
I honestly don't think you're going to see any of that or
No, but
allude
that's
to
what
any
I
of
said
that.
I would like to see.
No, I'm not saying that's not a bad idea. I think the novels are and the comics are pretty much at this point their own separate entity, and I don't know how much. I mean, it
That's
would
why
be
they need to
great.
bring those moments into the show to
Sure.
justify them in the novel.
I don't disagree at all. I've complained before about how the
They've
novels and
already kind
comics
of
are.
wrecked some of that novel. So
Yeah, well, yeah, the Siege of Mandalore are completely destroys all the interludes in that book where she's dealing with Maul and how that all goes down. So
that's why instead I'd like to see the reconstruction of her sabers that we read about in the book to kind of see her becoming the Fulcrum agent. That kind of stuff is the flashbacks I'd like to see. Maybe more flashbacks of her learning that her master is now Darth Vader.
I think there's that moment though where she learns it, and that's in Rebels as well. I mean, I don't think she has any real clue who Vader is until that moment in Rebels, where she kind of has that realization. I just worry that, like I said, the show is going to A, try to recap too much, and B, it's going to be Anakin and Ahsoka instead of Ahsoka. We've had Anakin and Ahsoka. We've had that part of her story. Who is she without him? And that doesn't mean you can't reference Anakin or you can't have Hayden in the series to this be the final moving on point. She got over Anakin being Darth Vader. Maybe this is the part of the story where she gets over Anakin. I think you have to be very careful that this isn't just an excuse to bring in Hayden Christensen and, oh, look, we're going to have Clone Wars flashbacks. Yeah, that's cool. I like the idea. I'm not complaining about the potential. But I don't think you always want to be looking back with Ahsoka. If you're going to do something with her here, do something with her in the here and now of the Mandalorian time frame, whatever you want to call it.
Okay, let's move on to our next story. Rupert Friend talks about playing, or at least dressing, as the Grand Inquisitor. Rupert was on BBC's The One Show, where he talked a lot about his prosthetics and the heavy suit. It was sweaty, sweaty suit. And I did sweat buckets inside the prosthetics, which would pour across my face at the end of the day and make me look like a very, very miserable clown, but so worth it. He's very excited to be joining the Star Wars franchise as he loves the universe they built for their fans, alongside their fans, as he put it. A large portion of the fandom is not happy, though, with the character's live-action appearance, as it doesn't match the Powers we see in Episode 3, or have the Sith eyes that the character has in Star Wars Rebels. So hopefully by May 27th, maybe we'll see some digital changes to the eyes, but who knows?
I don't know, maybe.
It's possible.
I guess.
It's possible that they go back and digitally fix some of that, maybe.
I don't know. I mean, maybe he doesn't even show up in the first couple episodes. We can't even be entirely sure when he's going to show up, how much he's going to be in there. I don't know. It's the great debate right now. Like, how much does this ruin the show that he doesn't look like you said, like the Powers from Revenge of the Sith, that he doesn't look like, the Grand Inquisitor looked like in Rebels. As I've said, I don't think it's going to ruin the show for me, but it certainly feels like a lack of effort here.
Well, and it takes you out of it a little bit.
Yeah. And I mean, I can understand, going to this, talking about the story itself a little. Yeah, it has to suck, being in that suit and those prosthetics and just, you're probably out. Well, they're probably not out in the desert. They're probably on a soundstage somewhere that, where they have their fancy new technology where they can make everything look like it's in the background when it's actually not there. So, I don't know. I think definitely could have gone a little bit above and beyond than what they did with the way the Inquisitor looks. Though you got to have sympathy for the actors who have to go through these, some degree of sympathy. I'd go through whatever it took to be even a background character in a Star Wars film, so it is what it is, I guess.
Okay, well, let's move on to the last story today. We've got 3 more guests announced for Star Wars Celebration, and I'm kind of excited about the 3 they've added. We have Sam Witwer, the voice of Darth Maul in the Clone Wars, Rebels, and Solo. We've got Matt Lanter, the voice of Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars and Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, as well as Kathy O'Brien, who played one of Moff Gideon's officers in The Mandalorian. They're all participating in photo ops, but it is unknown if any of them will be in the upcoming panels. Honestly, I'm really happy to hear Matt Lanter is going to be here, as hopefully that means his health has improved. He has also teased that he was doing a project for Lucasfilm Animation and was even spotted in a recording studio. So maybe he's going to be on a panel for animation or Tales from the Jedi or something else. I'm hoping to see him at a panel, maybe a Ahsoka panel, who knows. We're still waiting for more panel announcements. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think we're definitely going to see him. I'm assuming he's well. I mean, he had a big health scare not long ago.
Yes, he did.
So hopefully he's well and will be there. And I think if he is, he's almost certainly going to be on a panel of some type, right?
Mm-hmm. None of them have been announced for a panel, but they all have the options to be at one. I mean, Katie O'Brien can be at the Mandalorian panel easily. Maybe the officer has a bigger role in staging a rescue for her Moff.
Maybe, yeah, it's possible.
They could always do something with Sam Witwer and Darth Maul.
I mean, yeah, if you got Sam Witwer there, if you've got Matt Lanter, you probably, I think Ashley Eckstein's confirmed to be there. I mean, you could do a Clone Wars, remembrance panel type thing.
Or could be involved with whatever Tales of the Jedi could be.
Certainly, yeah. I mean, we don't have many of the panels announced, so there's probably, like I said, there's going to be, the Remembering Clone Wars panels. There's probably going to be panels for shows coming up. So certainly, I think some of these people or actors will be at these panels, which is cool. I mean, I'm super excited for some of these announcements, or what I hope will be some announcements about new shows. Maybe a new movie beyond Rogue Squadron. Maybe the Taika Waititi movie will get some details. Vision Season 2, which we talked about. A lot of potential for something. I just, I want some sort of game plan or roadmap ahead. I don't just want generic announcements like, we're going to work on this. We're going to bring this to you someday. Now, let's have something a little more concrete about when things might, when we might be able to expect them. Not just, we're working on things. No, let's give us you don't have to hold to the game plan exactly, but give us a little bit more of a roadmap of what you're planning to do with Star Wars over the next couple of years. That's my biggest hope out of Celebration. All right, well, I guess that's all we've got for you this time. Now, your turn. Take to the comments below. Tell us what you think about Ahsoka in the Ahsoka series. Do you want to see her flashbacks to Clone Wars with Anakin and Hayden Christensen and Rosario Dawson playing these younger versions of the... I mean, yes, Hayden already played a younger version of Anakin, don't get me wrong. But how strange do you think that would be to see Rosario and Hayden in a flashback as these two characters? And tell us what you think about, the guests at Celebration, or what you think about the Grand Inquisitor. I know we've talked about that a lot before. Either way, leave your comments below. Let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.